Wow. So Sony today dropped a huge bombshell on the gaming world, coming off the back of the recent announcement from Rockstar that Grand Theft Auto 6 is only going to be available as a digital product with no actual disc. Today, Sony announced that they are going to be shuttering production of physical media for their games on PlayStation systems in January of 2028. And as a result, I kind of wanted to talk about that. I decided to get my entire physical media collection out here, just to show that this is definitely important to me. I've been collecting physical video games for like about 10 years actively. I mean, physical video games have been a big part of my life, since I was a kid, but I only actively started to collect about 10 years ago. This is the result of that. It's not a huge collection, but I do think physical media is important, especially for the console ecosystem. So, why are they doing this? Well, I'm not naive to the fact that physical media sales have been dwindling and dwindling constantly for the past, I would say, about the past decade. Probably around halfway through the PlayStation 4 generation. So, this might even come off a little bit like old man yells at clouds to some people, because I am in the minority. I am aware that I am in the minority, and I do understand why they're doing it. Physical media sales at this point probably only account for 5 to 10% of all game sales, if I even had to take a guess myself. I don't know exactly. But it's been that way for a while. For most people, this is just going to be business as usual. They're going to go on, they're going to buy their physical games. But there's still people out there who having the game is important. It's important for preservation and just for consumer freedom. And now that's being taken away. You're going to be forced to buy the game digitally. I'm sure they just figured they'd rather save money on physical print runs. It costs us extra money to create these discs. We've switched over to 4K this generation. Having a 4K player definitely adds to the cost of a PlayStation. But PlayStation 6 is right around the corner at this point, and with this announcement, I think it's pretty clear that the PlayStation 6 is most likely going to be a digital-only console. And in addition to playing games on console and collecting older video games, I do also have a PC, and most brand new releases I do play on PC nowadays. I rarely buy a new game for like PlayStation 5 unless it's just something I on a whim buy. Like I recently bought First Light, the new James Bond game, for PlayStation 5, and I've been playing that. But I'll talk about it in a little bit, but even that has a bit of a catch to it. But I figure if we're going to be in a digital-only future, I'm definitely only going to be playing games on PC, because there really isn't much of a benefit buying a game on console at that point. I'd rather just play it on PC digitally and get better visuals, better frame rate. I have a 4070 Super in my desktop, and a 4070 Super handily beats a PlayStation 5 Pro in pretty much every game. I only have a base PS5, and I don't feel any reason to buy a PS5 Pro, especially now with the current pricing. I got my PS5 years ago at the $500 price point. But recently, Rockstar announced that GTA 6 is only going to be digital, and that really disappointed me. I'm actually debating if I even want to buy the game at launch or perhaps just wait for the PC version. I am a huge Grand Theft Auto fan. That series has been a big part of my life for a while, but I'm also an adult, and I don't feel an urge to double dip on a video game if it's only a digital product. It's like I would buy the console version if it was some nice physical release with like poster, a nice manual, and a disc, but I doubt we're going to get that. I'm going to be surprised if we even get a map or poster in the physical packaging of GTA 6. That's the least they can do for the fans. But I feel like if that's not the case, like I don't want to buy a game digitally and then buy the game digitally again. I can wait a year to a year and a half for the PC version. That's no problem. I actually think I'm going to pass on the console release and just play a better version on PC. I am curious to see how they're going to handle backwards compatibility on the PlayStation 6, since I would assume it's going to be compatible with PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, since PlayStation 4, the consoles have all been operating on x86 architecture, so it's not difficult to make backwards compatibility for PlayStation 4 generation onward. I'm just curious what they're going to do for people who own these games on disc. As you can see here, I do have a decent number of games for my PlayStation 4. Let's say I want to play Until Dawn on my PS6. Am I going to be forced to buy the game again digitally on PlayStation 6 if I want to have access to it? That would be extremely consumer unfriendly. I would hope that Sony's going to launch some kind of program to allow people who own these games on disc to be able to play their game on PlayStation 6. I don't know, create some kind of verification process that you own it. I'm not sure. But if they don't do that, that's going to be extremely unfriendly to consumers. I mean, this whole move, I worry, is kind of unfriendly to consumers in general, because we just saw recently in the news that Sony removed a bunch of movies from their service due to licensing issues, and something a little unprecedented happened in that they actually removed the movies from the libraries of people who already owned them. There were quite a few big movies. I remember reading the article. It said Terminator 2. I mean, that's a huge movie. That's like one of the most famous, iconic, and influential action movies ever produced. That's a movie that a lot of people are going to want to own. And you just yank that from the library? I don't remember reading anything about refunds, but that's the worry about digital-only games. You know, you launch a game, it gets taken off, you can't access it anymore. Physical media copies of games have a tendency to skyrocket when a game gets taken off services. And, you know, with digital products, that gives them also a lot more freedom to control the price of the game. One of the reasons I think that they also want to move towards a digital future is that it just allows more control over what people pay for the game. I'm going to call it right now. Grand Theft Auto 6 is launching at $80 for the base edition and $100 if you want to get some additional cosmetics and access to stores in the game. Which that right there I think is kind of a nonsense strategy. But in the future, I don't expect this game to drop in price anytime soon. I expect Grand Theft Auto 6 to be sold for $80 and $100 for years to come. And with the game being digital only, not being able to lend it to your friend like you could with a physical copy, they can keep the price there. There's nothing really stopping them from doing that. The idea that lending your friend a copy of a game is going away is something that to me is just insane. I remember when the Xbox One said they were going to do that with digital verification, and people hated it back then, but honestly they were just ahead of their time, because I think now we're at a point where consumers are willing to accept it. Most people went for the convenience of digital, and I guess now if you want to lend your friend a game, the only way you can do it is by giving them your entire console with this game on the hard drive, but then that leaves you without a way to play it. So I don't know, I don't like it. I feel like losing that is a huge thing. But this isn't a surprise. This has been coming for a long time. I think with Sony backing out of physical media, that really does spell an end for physical media as a whole. It's kind of been becoming more of a niche product in general. But throughout the history of PlayStation, I mean, they've always been huge pushes for physical formats. I mean, with the PlayStation 1, opened up access to CD for a lot of people. PlayStation 2 opened up access to DVD for a lot of people. PS3 with Blu-ray, and then PS5 with 4K. I actually got a 4K player through my PS5, and as a result, I ended up buying quite a few movies on the 4K Blu-ray format so I can watch them on my PS5. I'm also curious, with the end of an optical drive in the PS6, I wonder if 4K Blu-ray is really going to be the final format ever. Like, we're not going to get an 8K, which I don't even think that's really that much of an issue. I think 4K looks more than good enough. And the consoles this generation have proven to us over the years that they really aren't that well equipped for 4K in general. I mean, most games aren't running 4K or even that close. I mean, recently with 007 First Light, this game is running at like 1080p, being upscaled all the way up to 4K, which I mean, the fact that that's the kind of resolution we're seeing out of a console that was initially marketed as 4K capable really shows you that I don't think going beyond 4K is much of a priority at the moment. Games these days are also really large as a result of pushing for higher resolutions, high textures, and as a result, I think they're also pushing against the bounds of what they can put on the disc, particularly for a game like Grand Theft Auto 6. They probably were also thinking that, oh, not only do we have to spend money to print the game, we also have to spend money to print multiple discs for the game. Because I guarantee you, Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be over 100 gigabytes, if not even like almost 200. Prepping us for digital regardless. I mean, there is a digital-only version of the PlayStation 5 as of right now, and in the last few years, we've seen these curious little things popping up in our video games. Like, I'm using First Light as an example since I'm playing it, but you can see this interesting little tag here, Internet Required. If you see that on your game, there's a good chance that that game isn't even on the disc. So we've seen a number of games released like this over the last few years, particularly some Microsoft games like Doom: The Dark Ages, Indiana Jones and the Great Circles. None of those games are on the disc. The new Call of Duty games are not on the disc. So it's not like they aren't already pushing towards this. This is just the ripping off of the Band-Aid. Sony's just outright, no more discs. We're done. And I think they said you're still going to be able to buy video games at stores, but they're just going to be like those little cardboard things, or they're going to put the game's code on the receipt. I've actually never bought a game like that, because what crazy person buys a digital game at a store? But they do exist out there, grandma's buying their kids a gift for Christmas. But yeah, I just think it's crazy. Game collecting as a hobby is not ending, but it's kind of winding down. I mean, this is going to essentially create a finite number of games that you can collect physically. Like, there is an end number at this point, because I don't expect Microsoft to not go the same route. They're going to follow Sony's lead in this. Sony is the market leader in the console space. Well, technically, actually, Nintendo is with the Switch 1 at the moment in terms of current platforms. But, like core gamer experiences, I mean, Microsoft, they're losing handily to Nintendo and PlayStation in terms of market share. So I highly doubt they're going to not do the same thing, especially since they've already been pushing for digital only with some of their strategies. This generation, we have the Series S, which is a digital only console. And I don't think there's anything wrong with digital. I just think, the fact that we don't have that choice anymore, the fact that we don't have a disc with the game on it, is something that is a big part of gaming history. Digital media only really started blowing up about 10 years ago. It's still a relatively modern concept. And the fact that it's now completely erasing physical media is wild. I don't think this is going to mark the end of used game stores. As you can see right from my game collection, there's plenty of physical games that still exist, and I don't think the interest in experiencing older stuff is necessarily going away. But I would just say, honestly, I don't see much reason to play on new consoles at that point. I'd rather just play on PC. These modern consoles are essentially just PCs. The hardware inside of a PlayStation 5 is essentially just a Ryzen 5 CPU and an RX 6700 with 16 gigabytes of unified memory. You can build an equivalent PC to this, and with console being digital only, there really is no difference playing on a PC versus the console with the PlayStation 6, other than you're locking yourself in an enclosed environment in Sony's ecosystem, where they have a lot more control. They also announced that they're shutting down the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita store, which I have both of those consoles. And I would say if there's anything you want to buy, like let's say you want to buy Silent Hill 1 on the PlayStation store on PS3, that's actually the cheapest way to buy it. So you should buy that now before that opportunity, that window closes forever. Make sure to download anything you have on there, because you don't know how long they'll give you access to be able to go on there and download it. And yeah, I think it sucks. That's basically the end of the story. But also, I'm not surprised. This was inevitable. I was just surprised that they gave us an exact date, and waking up to that this morning was like, whoa, alrighty then. Well, I guess that ends that. But yeah, these are just some of my thoughts, and I just want to share them because I think it's a big deal. Thank you for watching.